So if we study our U.S. Constitution and we look at Article 1, Section 8 of the enumerated powers, which specifically lists the powers given to the federal government, education is not included. And then more specifically, when you look at the Bill of Rights in the 10th Amendment, it says that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Well, that means that either the states have the power or the people. And traditionally, since the founding of our country, it's been the people that have had the power over education. Parents have been the one to decide what their kids learn, and actually the students themselves have been able to choose what they study. Okay, when you get a check, if it says made out to you or your wife, is there a difference between that as a check being made out to you and your wife, the way you would have to process that check?
There definitely is a difference because, as you stated, it requires both parties in order for you to cash that check. So, and that's exactly what this act is doing. It's allowing that both sides, the government and yourself, both are necessary in order for process to be delivered to the children, education process to be handed over to the children. So basically they're taking full control, because you know as well as I do, if there's a restriction set by the government, you can't override that no matter what you do. That's just the way this country is run. So they're basically saying, okay, it's both parties, but you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be the government controlling everything, and we must not accept that. As a people, we need to make a stand and prevent that from happening.
So, Kurt, in the 10th Amendment, it says the states or the people, but in the federal legislation, it says the states and the people.
Right. So, from what I can take from that is the people. It's changing from the parent being the main sole dictator of what the child learns to it being I don't know how to put this, both parties having say on what the child learns. And that's a big change, because what's happening is we're giving, at the end of the day, we're going to give sole total control to the government on what your child learns and how they learn it.
So would you say this Student Success Act is unconstitutional?
Absolutely, 100% sure about that. And if anybody understands the English language and or, you can tell that this is just a tactic for them to take control over our education of our children.
But when we look at the new Every Student Succeeds Act, which Congress is about to pass, and specifically the language in H.R. 5, it says that it expresses the intent of Congress that control over public education and parental rights to control their children's education is vested exclusively within the authority reserved to the states and individual Americans. Now, that's a change from the 10th Amendment. Here it has the word "and," meaning both the states and individual Americans, so the state can step in and decide what kids learn, and the parents either agree or don't agree, but the states do have that right. And it also says, by the Constitution, it has exceptions. When the states expressly approve federal terms or conditions on educational assistance, or the federal government is obliged to enforce minimum federal equal protection or due process. So you see quite a few ors in there, many different cases where the federal government will be able to override not only individuals and what they want their kids to learn, but also to override the states. And this is definitely not the intent of the U.S. Constitution or the 10th Amendment.